Here, I welcome to all my dear students. Today, we are going to learn video 2, Proposal and Acceptance, Consideration and Kinds of Consideration. So, let's start with the proposal and acceptance. Offer or proposal and acceptance. The first is proposal. A contract is an agreement and comes into existence when one party makes an offer which the other accepts. In other words, there should be a proposal one hand and acceptance on the other hand. Meaning of proposal. In the Indian Contract Act, an offer is termed as a proposal. For a valid contract, there must be a lawful proposal by one party and a lawful acceptance of the said proposal by the other party. Section 2A of the Indian Contract Act defines a proposal as under. Definition of proposal. When a person signifies to another his willingness to do or abstain from doing anything with a view to obtaining the assent of that other to such act or abstinence, he is said to make a proposal. For example, P asks Q, Mr. Q, will you sell your car to me for rupees 1 lakh? This is a proposal made by P to Q to purchase Q's car for rupees 1 lakh. In this slide, now we will discuss legal rules as to proposal or essentials for a valid proposal. The first point is terms of the proposal must be definite or should be capable of being made definite. The terms of the proposal should not be loose and uncertain. For example, P offers to pay a good price for the imported car of Q. This offer is uncertain as the term goods price is not clarified. Thereafter, next point is the proposal must be made with a view to obtain the consent of the promise. To constitute a valid proposal, mere expression of desire to do or not to do some act is not sufficient. Next point is a proposal or an offer must be made with an intention to create legal relationship. For example, P invites Q to a dinner and Q accepts it as it is a social invitation. Q cannot take any legal action against P in case P fails to provide dinner to Q. Next point is a proposal may be expressed or implied. If a proposal is made in words, either spoken or written, it is called as express proposal. And if a proposal is implied from the conduct of the parties, it is called as implied proposal. Next point is the proposal must be communicated to the other party. The proposal must be brought to the knowledge of the person to whom it is made. Next point is the proposal must be distinguished from mere statement of intention. When a person declares that he has the intention to do something, it does not amount to a proposal. Next point is the proposal may be positive or negative. A proposal may be either to do or not to do something. And last point is the proposal may be conditional. The promiser may prescribe certain conditions in the proposal. So, these were the various legal rules as to proposal. I hope all of you must have understand these legal rules as to proposal. Next is acceptance. The acceptance of a proposal is essential to the create a legal relationship. Acceptance is the consent given to a proposal and the effect of converting the proposal into a promise. Acceptance is the act of assenting by the offeree to an offer. In other words, it is the manifestation by the offeree of his willingness to be bound by the terms of the offer. Definition of acceptance. Section 2b defines when the person to whom the proposal is made signifies his assent thereto, the proposal is said to be accepted. A proposal, when accepted, becomes a promise. For example, P makes a proposal to Q. Mr. Q, will you purchase my computer for rupees 20,000? Q says to P, yes, I am willing to buy your computer for rupees 20,000. In this case, Q has accepted P's proposal. Hence, we can say that proposal or offer plus acceptance is equal to agreement. In this slide, now we will discuss legal rules or essential of a valid acceptance. First point is acceptance must be absolute and unconditional. This promisee cannot accept a part of its term which are favorable to him and reject the rest. Second point is acceptance must be communicated. The acceptance must be made known to the promisor. Third point is acceptance must be given within the prescribed time or a reasonable time. If the period within which acceptance is to be made is not fixed or specified, then in such a case an acceptance must be given within a reasonable time. Next point is acceptance must be given before the proposal is lapsed. This applies to instance where the promise has knowledge regarding the death of the promisor. Next point is acceptance must be communicated to the promisor himself. In other words, if acceptance is communicated to an unauthorized person, it will not give rise to a legal relationship. Next point is acceptance subject to contract. When an acceptance is given by promisee which is subject to contract, no contract can be created till a formal contract is settled. And last point is manner of expression. The usual modes of acceptances are oral, in writing, by post, by telegram, by courier, by fax, or any other electronic means of communication. So, these were the various legal rules of a valid acceptance. I hope all of you must have understand these legal rules of a valid acceptance. Next is consideration. The element of consideration is one of the essential of a valid contract. Consideration is the foundation of every contract. Definition of consideration. Pollock definition. Consideration is the promise for which the promise of other person is purchased. For example, P agrees to construct a house for Q and Q agrees to pay rupees 5 lakh to P for the said work. Here, P's act to construct the house is the consideration for Q's promise to pay rupees 5 lakh. Since P agrees to do something, the consideration in this case is in an affirmative form. In this slide, now we will discuss kinds of consideration. First point is past consideration. When consideration by a party for a present promise was given in the past before the date of promise, it is called a past consideration. For example, P teaches the son of Q at Q's request in the month of February and it merges Q's promise to pay P a sum of rupees 500 for his services. Second point is present consideration. Consideration which moves simultaneously with the promise is called present consideration. For example, P goes to Q's shop and asks for a pen. Q gives him the pen and P in return gives him the money. Last point is future consideration. When consideration on both sides is to move at a future date, it is called future consideration. For example, P promises to deliver 100 bags of rice to Q after 1 week, and Q promises to pay the price of rice after 3 weeks. The promise of P is supported by promise of Q. In this case, the consideration is future or executory. Next is essential and legal rules regarding consideration. The first point is consideration must move at the desire of the promisor. The act or abstinence forming the consideration for promise must be done at the desire or request of the promisor. Second point is consideration may move from the promisee or any other person. The other essential criteria of a valid consideration that comes to light from the definition of consideration indicates that it may move from promisee or any other person. Next point is the consideration need not be adequate. Whether consider is adequate or not is the job of the parties to decide. They can decide it at the time of making the agreement. For example, P agrees to sell his Hero Honda motorcycle worth rupees 45,000 to Q for rupees 1,000. If P's consent to this agreement is freely given, even though the consideration is inadequate, the agreement in this case is valid. Next point is the consideration must be lawful. It should not be illegal, and agreement is void. It is based on unlawful consideration. And last point is the consideration must be something other than the public duty of the promisee. The consideration must be something which the promisee is not already bound to do. So, these were the various kinds of consideration, and essential and legal rules regarding consideration. I hope all of you must have understand these kinds of consideration and legal rules regarding consideration. Thank you.